Number one, that the trilateral is an important framework for peace and security in the Indo-Pacific, and that denuclearization remains the policy of the two governments that issued the statement. And I know that that's also the policy of the government in Seoul. So those are both good signs. I wouldn't take it necessarily as the final word, though. These policies can shift. The fact is that denuclearization will probably require some sort of discussion, some sort of negotiation that won't be instantaneous in terms of the denuclearization. So there are still a lot of unanswered questions in terms of the future and whether and how committed the Trump administration will be to many of the initiatives that took place during the Biden administration. Well, I think the biggest issue will be political will in the three capitals. Starting in Washington, a commitment to the trilateral, a commitment to this framework as being an essential part of security in the Indo-Pacific. In Tokyo, a prime minister who has political challenges. In Seoul, which is in transition, that there are questions about the political will that will exist in the next months to come. I think we have in place the groundwork for a very good relationship among the three countries. That is one that extends beyond security into technology, into science, into business and finance. The question is the political will to follow up. Points of emphasis, yes, could change. One of the areas that has developed are in the security area of joint exercises. In the last Trump administration, exercises were put on hold. I don't know what the policy will be of the new Trump administration. So I think that remains to be seen. Or whether alliances have the same emphasis as they did certainly in the Biden administration and have traditionally in American foreign policy, and one that is less based on values and more based on those transactions. And I wouldn't take at face value every statement or that's come out, including the one that came out on Friday. I think it's a good start. I think that it sets out the right principles, but they have to be followed up and could change. In the last few years under the Yoon government, I don't think that China made much progress in those efforts. I think in some ways they overplayed their hand. We all know of the famous meeting that took place by the then Chinese ambassador with the leader of the opposition party in Korea that turned into a bit of a fiasco. And so I think what's going on now as the two countries try to bring their relations back to a normal state is a different situation. But I didn't see a lot taking place in Korea as happened in other countries. So that was, and I give credit to the South Korean government for withstanding some of the pressure that was put on it by China. But as I say, I don't think it was particularly successful. I think in some ways it backfired. Of being more open to discussions with South Korea. President Yoon met with Xi Jinping in Peru. I saw that the Speaker Wu of the National Assembly, was just in China and had a meeting with Xi Jinping. He said publicly that he is expecting or is looking favorably at traveling to South Korea for the APEC summit. I think this is a different approach. I think they have changed in some ways. It's they're on a bit of a more of a charm offensive rather than a pressure offensive. there are some constraints at the moment on the ROK's government. It's a transitional government, an acting president. That said, I've described it as being not ideal, but probably sufficient to have these lines of communication open between the national security advisors, as took place last week. Hopefully more discussions between the foreign ministers and the Secretary of State, of course, in Washington. Those will keep lines of communication open. But I don't know that it will be fully resolved until the political situation in South Korea is in a different, has resolved. So, but there may be contact between the acting president and President Trump. I can't say whether that will happen. It may very well. And that would be a good and natural development, I think, to discuss some of the important issues that you've mentioned. But again, under a new government, depending on how that government is formed, how an election goes, if the Constitutional Court upholds the impeachment against President Yoon, it may be a new policy. So we'll have to see.